everybody, it's Doug here, Doug Mr. Guy on Board Game Geek and on YouTube, welcoming you back to the channel and welcoming you back to a new playthrough. This one is going to be of the game The Shared Dream by Odam Publishing, and this is based on actually a role-playing game. It's a board game version of the role-playing game, actually, where you play an animus who is somebody who can manipulate the magic and manifest their dream self into the world to fight bad guys, okay, or evil, and that's what we're going to be doing in this game, guys. We have come into a city. There's a story. I'll read that to you. I have the story already set up. There's really only a couple of other playthroughs out there, so I was able to choose a scenario that you probably haven't seen played through yet. This is a slightly harder scenario, which is not fantastic because outside some sample plays, I haven't really played the full game yet. So, like always, I would consider this a blind playthrough. I'm just giving it to you straight out of the box. Read the rules, watched some videos on it, and we're going to get going. Now, what do we do in this game? Well, simply put, we are some people. In this case, we're going to be a gentleman called Tillman Scott, and he is an animus. His anima is a superhero. How cool is that, right? And you notice he's got a miniature for his anima and a standee for his animus self, his normal self. And you can see that they have a number of stats. And we're going to be trying to solve a scenario, a mission. Something bad has come, and we're going to try and solve it. So you can see that we have some stats here. We have a combat of 1, a magic of 5. He's very powerful in magic. Social of 3 and a move of 1. So as his normal self, he doesn't move very well. Doesn't do that much. He does 1 damage, and he has 3 health. It says, even while pursuing multiple degrees, Tillman has always found time to keep up with his favorite comic books. For years, he dreamed of being a hero and saving the day until he finally woke up flying. That's pretty cool, right? I love that idea. Okay, and so we got 3 stats. We got conviction, which is our things we use to power our abilities. And when we use them, they start to become nightmares, which manifest bad things on the board. And then we also have the worst thing, which is doubt. One of the lose conditions is this right here, this scenario right here, where we become so doubtful we can't use our abilities anymore. Anyway, Tillman Scott also then has his second self, his superhero self, and you'll see that there's a couple things here. One is he has a short set of cards that are special abilities. I'll just reveal the first one for you. I'll leave the other 2. You may have seen him in other playthroughs, but I'll leave the other 2 for a surprise. Oh, that's his rank 3 ability. We want that on the bottom, not the top. So yeah, here we go. Rank 1, Mighty Throw. You may have started this fight, but I'm going to finish it. It says as an action, play this card to deal 3 damage to an enemy in your space. Nemesis are only dealt 1 damage by this ability. After the damage is dealt, you may throw the target enemy by moving them to any adjacent space. Nemesis cannot be moved in this way, so obviously we can fight minions pretty well with that, but not Nemesis. And we can fuel this up. The more conviction we spend, the higher level we get and the more abilities we have. So, and you can see that his combat goes up from 1 to 4, his magic goes down, his social goes up, and his movement goes up, because he can fly, right? And he does 3 damage and can take 5 hits in his animus form. So that's kind of how that works. So you're going to see it's an action for me to become my the alternate self, and you're going to see how that plays out in the game. And I did most, like 90% of the setups done. I'm going to do one thing on camera with you guys just to show you that I'm kind of randomizing that part of the game, and we won't know what happens. Even though I don't know how this plays out with these characters. I did see a playthrough with Tillman, and I picked him because of the scenario. I thought he'd be fun to play as it relates to the scenario I chose, which we'll go over in just a minute. Our other characters, Erica, her animus is a telepath. You can see that she does 1 damage. She only can take 2 hits in her normal form. She's 1/6 magic, pretty powerful, very social, 4 social and only 1 move in her regular form. And then when she becomes the telepath, she has a combat of 3, a magic of 7, social of 7, movement of 2, and you can see she has some abilities. We'll deal with those abilities as we go along. She does 2 damage and takes 3 hits. So let's take a look at, she also then has her 1 main ability, which in the first level is telekinesis. We'll see how that works as we play. We don't need to go in that in detail. Of course, you can see that she has a miniature for her animus form, and then her standee for her anima form, which is basically her normal self. And we got a lot of bad guys. We got these creatures that are going to come out at random on the board. We'll see how that works. The board is going to become tainted with darkness and evil and all that good stuff. And we're going to find equipment and artifacts. We're going to find all kinds of cool stuff. But every scenario, we're going to talk about the scenario next. So every scenario is different and has some special things to it. So let's take a look at that. We're going to be playing Explosive Nightlife. And there's some more. There's two parts of the story. We're going to take a look at what I'm going to read to you what is the storyline in the book, and I'm going to show you, just to show you for the purposes of setup, that there are some other setup things that we do as a result of the scenario we're playing. This Explosive Nightlife. It says, "It's not unusual to dream of being a hero. Super strength, impossible speed, and mystical powers are the stuff dreams are made of. Most of the time, these dreams are triumphant stories of overcoming the odds and saving the day. This was not one of those dreams. Bryce the Damned, a petty crook possessed by the spirit of a wretched legionnaire, was on the loose. We couldn't help but laugh amongst ourselves. What convoluted plot would have to stop this time, or we would have to stop this time, rather. When the first bomb went off, no one was laughing. Bryce had his minions deliver the message. There would be more explosions, and soon. The city collapsed into chaos. While emergency responders did their job, we set about the job only we can perform. Amidst the fire and chaos, beneath the smoke blackened sky, we began to hunt for Bryce and his bombs. We awoke to a calm city and clear skies. It was our duty to keep them that way." So that is the basic scenario story of Explosive Nightlife. Then also on here it says, "Bryce the Damned, the supernaturally enhanced villain, has struck again. In his most nefarious plot, Bryce has planted bombs throughout the city. Thankfully, a group of anima have awoken, remembering bits and pieces of his evil plan. Will they be able to stop his mad schemes, or will Bryce the Damned prevail?" Okay, so as you can see, there's some things on here. It says, objective: the players must find the supervillain's hidden bombs by completing their personal reflections. And we'll get to that in a moment. That's the thing I left open for us to do before we start. They must then defeat the supervillain's minions to receive bomb defusal cards to defuse those bombs. Required, and it shows a series of required locations that we have to have on the map. You can see we need the bottoms up bar, the docks, the downtown area, hospital, museum, police station, voodoo shop, and warehouse. We did these additional setups. We placed the supervillain combat card. I'll show you that in a moment. We have the miniature. We're going to place his miniature docks. I've not done that yet. We're going to place the minion deck and tokens in reach of all players. We got that set up. We're going to place one bomb card for each player. We were playing a two-player game, so I have two bomb cards. I'll show you that, though you're not going to get to see what's on them. And then we're going to place the bomb defusal deck nearby, and we got that set up too. There's starting taint. We placed one taint. Taint is a bad thing. When taint overruns an area, that's when these baddies start to come out. And there's some even worse versions of these baddies called Reavers that are really, really nasty. And then it says personal reflections. When a player completes their personal reflection, they flip over a bomb card. Personal reflections are the things we have to complete as part of setup. And then it says in the night phase, the supervillain follows the nemesis movement and action rules. When the supervillain acts, follow the instructions on its combat card, which we'll take a look at. If any bomb cards have been revealed, remove one bomb token from that card at the end of every night phase as per the card's instructions. And then the victory conditions are the players win when there are no bombs left in the city, or at least one player survives. So that's basically our scenario. Let's take a look at some of the things we've set up for this villain. So I have a villain, kind of the villain setup staging area right here. Here are the bomb tokens that were mentioned in the game. These are the minion cards, and I'm going to leave them as a surprise for you. I'm not going to show you what they are, but they're kind of neat. They're actually neat. I like them a lot. And these are the bomb defusal card decks, which I have shuffled. I'm just continuing to shuffle to make sure they're nice and randomized. Out of the 4 bomb cards, we have picked those 2. We didn't pick them, we randomly dealt them out. And this is Bryce the Damned himself, where, as you know, I place his miniature out on the docks. And I'm placing them out now, but we'll take a look at that. It doesn't matter where they are on that space. The space is just a space. It doesn't, the quadrants in the space really don't mean anything. Here's Bryce himself. You can see he does 5 damage, or has 5 wounds, does 3 hits. Combat 7, 0 magic, 3 move. He's got special abilities here. It says, if Bryce ends his movement on a space without a player, he will spawn a minion. Draw 1 minion card and place its matching token on the same space as Bryce. When Bryce reaches 5 wounds, he cannot move or attack in the next night phase, but 1 token is immediately removed from all bombs. His wounds are then reset to 0. So see, he's not very easy to kill, and we're going to have to keep trying to find him. Now, we uncover the bomb disarm codes by our personal reflections, which is these decks here. There are exactly 4 of them, because this game can be played 1 to 4. We're going to be playing 2 players. We're not going to be playing solo. So I'm just going to roll randomly for which of these decks we get. And these personal reflections are going to guide us around the board in a story-like fashion to accomplish some things. And when we accomplish those things, those tasks, we're going to get to the end of that. We're going to get to reveal, for each one we complete, we're going to get to reveal the bomb codes that we need to do to disarm the bombs. So that's going to be our mission. So let's do that. Let's pull out these decks and see which ones we're going to get. You can see we have 4 personal reflection decks that are part of this storyline. So it says Explosive Nightlife Personal Reflections. So they're very easy to spot. The only card that starts with is the start card right here, which we'll reveal when we get to play. But you can see that we have these 4 decks, and I don't know what they are. So I'm just going to put them out at random, but we're going to just roll a die and see who gets what. So this will be 1, 2, 3, 4 for now on a 6-sided dice. If I roll 5 or 6, I'll just re-roll. The first one's going to go to Erica, our telepath. Let's see what she gets. She gets a 2, so she will get this deck here. I don't know what it is. We'll turn it up in a moment and see. We'll put that right there. Then I'll just roll a 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 for Tillman. See what he gets. He gets 4, so he's going to get this middle deck here. And then the other 2 will not be in the game, which gives some great replayability. Or if you are playing with... oops, I missed one here. Let's see. If you're playing with 4 players, you play with all of them, and it's going to give everybody a slightly different story. So let's talk about a little bit about what we do. Okay, so we're going to have 2 phases. We're going to have the day phase and night phase. In the day phase, the first thing that's going to happen is we're going to return to our anima form. Right? If we were in our special super form, in our animus form, we would simply return to that form. Okay. And the reason I'm kind of explaining this, you can go out and find some other instructional videos in this and setup and everything like that, but I wanted to go through this with you because there aren't really a ton of videos on this game. And I don't really know why. This is a really cool game. Lots of neat stuff, and I know Rolling Solo did a solo version of it. I can't remember, I'll have to look. Somebody else did another game of this, but there's a couple to look at, but not very many. Anyway, so echoes, each player can draw 1 echo card. This replaces their current echo card. So we're always going to have one of these echo cards, and these are a deck of things that are good and bad. Sometimes they're going to give us a bonus, sometimes they're not. So that'll be the second thing we do. Then we're going to look at our conviction and nightmares. So we're going to gain a conviction and a nightmare always, and that's going to go onto our board. Remember, convictions are a currency. Nightmares are a bad thing. Convictions allow us to turn into, we can commit ourselves to our anima form, etc. Then we're going to decide the action order. That's not a big deal. We just decide who goes when, and then we're going to take our actions. The first player takes all of their desired actions, followed by the second player. Then we're going to go to the night phase. Now we'll go over actions in a moment. Okay, so. And everybody gets, I'm going to double check, but I believe it's 3 actions. I always get there. Every game that has actions, I think it's usually 3, so I got that number stuck in my head. I just always double check. Night phase order of events. First thing we're going to have is enemies that are on the board are going to act, except for the Nemesis. Remember, he's going to do his thing when he does it. Then we're going to raise the taint. All locations listed on the starting section of the scenario are going to increase their taint by 1. If a location has 5 taint, remove 4 taint cubes and place a shadow there. Shadows are these bad guys that we were talking about. Okay, and there's some scenarios, some situations where those shadows can become something far worse. They're called a reaver. We're going to save that in case we run into them as well. Okay, then we're going to do our nightmare test. Now, what does that mean? Each player is going to roll a die. If they roll, and you can see, roll 1 die if the result is the same or higher, or lower rather, than your nightmare. So if I have a nightmare 4 and I roll that, then we are going to have, they're going to spawn an enemy. In this case, it would be a shadow. And then the night phase actions. The Nemesis will act. Any other specific cards or actions listed under night phase will happen, and those would be the things on on our scenario card, etc. And that's that. Now, what can we do as a player? We can move, which is pretty obvious. We can move along using our movement rate. As you know, in our normal forms, both our players only have a 1. We can attack. We can attack one enemy using our combat score. And then we'll see, well, I'll show you combat when we get to it. It's really straightforward, not difficult at all. Then we're going to reflect. We're going to draw the appropriate reflection card. Okay, that's an action we can take. In other words, complete our reflection or draw a new, whatever the case may be. We'll get to that as we play. And then it says draw artifacts, spend 1 conviction to take 1 artifact card. Now you can just do that. It just costs a conviction. And we can draw an artifact card. Artifact cards are typically pretty powerful and give us some kind of ability. It's pretty good to do. We can rest. That would gain us a conviction or remove a nightmare, but not both. We can channel. We can spend up to 3 conviction to channel our animus. That means go into our animus form. Now when you say up to 3, it's because we have 3 levels of power we can fuel ourselves with. If we go all the way up to 3, we're really beefing ourselves up. In most cases, like we're just fighting normal shadows, we would just spend 1 conviction and beef ourselves up 1 level unless we really needed to do something special. Okay, location action. We can perform an action on a location on the board. We really haven't discussed that yet, but there are many special locations on the board that have special abilities that we can take, such as going to the hospital, we can heal. Going to the library, we can learn stuff. Things like that. And then other actions, we can, certain echoes, artifacts, animus abilities, and scenario-specific cards may allow us to play and take other actions. Okay, and we'll go over those in detail as we play, right? So let's just take a quick look at the board, and I think that will wrap us up for setup, and then we can get into the gameplay. All right, let's take a look. Here is our board. Now, it's a city, right? So you can see the streets going up there. There's several things worthy of noting. Like, for example, if I'm moving along here, I have to stop unless I have some special ability. It doesn't require me to stop in this space. And you note, because of the way this board got set up, I can only go from here to here. So this central section of the board is kind of a bad area for us just by random luck of the draw, where I have to go in a couple different directions to get anywhere. And then again, there's also special abilities. So for example, in downtown, you can sacrifice a conviction and take a social test. If you pass, you gain 3 conviction. Social test of 4, meaning you have to roll your social dice and you got to get a 4 or better. Okay, that's not bad. So I mean, considering Erica's got a 4 social, that's pretty good, right? So she's got a good chance of getting it. So that might be one of her first stops, for example. And then library, you can sacrifice a conviction to do that as well. So we got 2 spots, library and the downtown area, we can gain more conviction. And the boxing gym, we can do that there as well. And it's interestingly enough, as this was purely random, but they all ended up on the same street segment there, as you can see. And then we have things like the police station. You can take a social test 6. If you pass, you get to remove 1 shadow from any location. In other words, you sent the police in to kill a shadow. They managed to take it down. At the warehouse, it says all anima in the warehouse are ignored by all enemies except the nemesis when determining enemy movement. So if we're here in our anima form, like that, then that ability is in effect. Melissandra's Alley, it says when drawing an artifact here, you may draw 2 artifact cards and keep 1. So in other words, there's magic there. It's pretty cool, right? Lots of magic. And we'll get to the rest of them as we play this out. I'm going to kind of wrap up our setup stuff, get everybody on the board. We can start taking our first set of actions and start to play. I think this is a really neat game. I hope you do too. There's also other things like dark magic cards, stuff that's going to happen to us that are just bad in general. Yeah, not good. And we got to get our guys on the board, get them when they're starting locations, etc., and get the game rolling. Like I said, so far we have no conviction or nightmares to speak of. We're going to probably have to pump that up. We'll be pumping that up as we get ready to take our actions for the day. But here we go. Let's get started. So we have to get Bryce the Damned and stop his bombs from going off in the city with our 2 heroes. Tillman Scott, who's a superhero, and Erica, who's a telepath in her special form. So if we can defuse these 2 bombs, we're going to win. We're going to give it a try. You know how this goes, right? With these types of games, they're usually pretty hard to have a victory with, but we're going to see what we can do and get into the shared dream. Alright, the first thing that happens is we got to get ourselves out onto the board. We're going to do that by revealing the first of our personal reflections. So we're going to see, this says Explosive Nightlife Personal Reflection Start card. It shows a symbol. I don't know what that, it looks like somebody's, I don't know what it is, somebody in a weird place. I don't. Anyway, let's see where we're going to go. This kind of tells us where we're going to end up. Okay, this says Sursa Trova. It's the start card of our personal reflection. And this is again for Erica. Your reflection starts at the voodoo shop. As you browse the shelves of the shop, a large crystal pyramid catches your eye. You recognize it from last night's dream, where you are a mighty mage who served part of a team of superheroes. As you stare into the crystal, you hear a ticking sound and can't help but wonder if the crystal is here. What about the bombs? You hastily purchase the crystal and decide to take it somewhere quiet so you can think. Your reflection continues to the museum. So Erica has to move to the museum. That's where her next part of the... Now, this first one is just a story element. Tells us where we start, tells us where we got to go. And when we get there, we're going to have to do something else. Now, let's get on then to Tillman and see what happens with him and his personal reflection. So where does Tillman start? Let's see. Okay, it says your personal reflection starts in the museum. Okay. While it seems like any other ordinary day, you're one of the few people who know that it could be one filled with tragedy. The supervillain Bryce the Dam swore vengeance on the city and plans to set off explosions. In your dreams, his tale started when he stole an ancient coin from a museum much like this one. It appears that the museum is awaiting a shipment of antiquities for a new exhibit. While it could be coincidence, it could be a lead. Your reflection continues at the docks. So, Tillman has found some secrets about Bryce, where that's going to take him, and what has to happen next. So we do know that his next reflection will take him to the docks, where he will get to see what happens next in his storyline. Now, are the docks close to him? I'm looking around just to be sure. They're actually not. It's pretty far across the board, and of course right now the villain's there. So we will make our way in that direction and probably trade places between the two characters, maybe get some stuff, or we'll see what happens. All right, that is our personal reflections. So we do know that we're going to be heading to various locations around the board to see what goes on. And like, for example, there also might be multiple locations. We're going to have to figure out which one we draw. For example, there might be 2 museum ones, and it could give us a different storyline just to keep the zeal of the story alive and keep us progressing. So now that we have gotten our places, we're going to start our day phase of series of events. And again, since we start with Erica, we might as well continue with Erica and see how this goes. Here is Erica. We're going to start her day phase. We're going to return her to her anima form, which we don't have to do that because she's already in it. We're going to draw an echo. So we don't have an echo right now. Each player draws one. This will replace the one from their last periods. Let's see what we get here. I'm going to shuffle this deck up some more, make sure it's nice to shuffle, because these are really, really random and I don't want all the bad stuff on top. We'll just make sure it's shuffled up as good as we can. And I wonder what we can do at the voodoo shop as an action. We'll cross that bridge when we come to it. We're going to make sure that we have everything set up the way that we want. Okay, so this is her reflections. Let's see, echoes. We're going to cut them one more time. We'll just give them one more cut and see what we get. Okay. It says, Bright Eyes. Your heartful dream ends with a whispered reminder to pay it forward. +1 social this round. So for right now, Erica has +1 social skill. So her social's 5. She's got to do something social. Maybe that needs to go to the library where she gets to make a massive test to get a bunch of conviction. That might be a really wise move for her. Okay, and then the next thing we're going to do is we're going to do our convictions and nightmares. That is after Bryce gets his echo. I got to do his next. So what does he end up with? Let's see. Exhausted. Uh-oh. You were running as fast as possible, yet it wasn't fast enough. No matter how hard you try, your legs just would not move any faster. You feel the creeping sensation that your debts are catching up with you. -1 movement. Well, that means he's got a 0 movement for the round. We'll have to see how that plays out. He may just have to pump into his or he might have to just stay at the museum this turn and try and do some other actions. We'll see. I mean, there's things he can do there. He can channel and then move. That might be something he has to do just to get out of the area. But we can also gain a conviction. We can rest and gain a conviction, see what that happens. So now we're going to move on to our conviction and nightmare phase. And that's really simple. So for this first turn, what that means is we're going to gain a conviction. We're going to gain a nightmare. That's it. And I'll do the same thing on the board for Erica. So she now has a a nightmare and a conviction. Then we decide to play order. We're going to go with Erica first. We already kind of decided that, and then we're going to take our set of actions. So Erica does get to take 3 actions, and it says on her space currently, for example, if she wanted to take the voodoo shop action for the space, it says any anima, that's her current form, she's in her anima form, who starts their day phase at the voodoo shop draws 2 echo cards instead of 1. Oops, I should have drawn 2 for she got a good one. So actually, you know what? I should have read that first, because that would have mean that she would have discarded this exhausted card, and this would have been Tillman's drained. Well, it's just as bad, right? You do not receive any convictions for waking up this day phase. Okay, well that means he would have had a nightmare and no convictions. I don't know which is worse, but we'll just live with that, okay? Because it says she would have drawn 2. She would have drawn that exhausted card. Tillman got the drained card. So he is drained for the day. It says the thrill of, I'll just read the storyline to you. It says the thrill of laying waste to those who opposed you is taking its toll, and you find yourself lacking energy. You do not receive any conviction for waking up in the day phase. It doesn't say, though, that you don't get a nightmare. So he did, in fact, get his nightmare. Okay, so he can't channel his anima this turn or this round, but we'll see. He has no conviction, so there's really very little that he can do up in here this turn. He can only move 1 anyway, so we're going to see where he goes. I don't know. He might just go have a drink. We'll see. All right, let's get on with that. So that was our actions. What are we going to do with Erica? So I think we got 3 actions. I was correct. It's always 3, right? 3 actions. So we can move, attack, reflect, draw an artifact, rest, channel, etc. Use the location. The location has the start of turn, so we don't have to worry about that. I think what we're going to do is we're going to spend our first of 3 actions to move. So she can move 1. So she's going to move down here to the library, where she is going to spend her conviction to make a social test, which requires 3. A check of 3. If she passes, she gains 3 convictions. So here's where we're going to spend 1 to gain an additional 2. Now, keep in mind that she's got a social of 5 right now, so she's got a very good chance. She needs to succeed and get a 3 or better. Now, how does this work when we roll tests? Well, we're going to roll a red die and a blue die. The blue die is us. The red die is basically the challenge of the test. And we're going to deduct the red die from the blue die. If we make, and then we're going to add our skill to it. So in this case, it would be a 5 for social, because she's got a 4 and +1 for her bright eyes this turn. If we succeed by getting 3 or better, in this case, we will pass. So let's see what we roll. 6s, so it's a 0, right? Because 6 minus 6 is a 0. So she got a 0 on the test, but we got +5. So we succeeded at +3, which means she goes 1, 2, and 3 total conviction at this point. That was her second action, which was at the library. Now we could bump over to downtown and do that again, but I don't think we're going to do that. I think for her third action, she is going to draw an artifact. Now, she's going to spend 1 of her conviction to do that. So, boosh, here goes 1 of her conviction. She's going to draw an artifact card. So let's take a look at that. Her turn is going to be pretty cool this turn, as opposed to Tillman's isn't, because he got drained, and we don't have any conviction to even spend. So let's do this. We're going to draw an artifact, see what we get. We get the Druid's Twisted Staff. That sounds really amazing. Once kept by an elder druid of a fantasy dreamscape, this staff can make vegetation grow in an instant, entangling a pursuing enemy. As an action, sacrifice 1 conviction and choose an enemy up to 1 space away. That enemy's movement is reduced to 0 until the next day phase. Cannot be used on the nemesis. Okay, well, we can't use it on the nemesis. That's okay, because it's probably not what we'd want to do anyway, right? Okay, so that's pretty good. She's got some good stuff going on right now with her Bright Eyes and Druid's Twisted Staff that she can use. She can use that over and over again. It doesn't go away from her. It's an artifact that she gets to carry with her now as part of her anima, actually. Not even her animus. She can use that in any form. That's pretty cool. That was her 3 actions, though, so we're going to end her actions, and we're going to go on to Tillman now and see what he can get done. So he's really in a bad place here. He can take his first action to move 1, maybe his second. See, a lot of things require us to sacrifice a conviction or something to accomplish it, and we don't have any right now because of what happened in that turn. So I think what he's going to do is his first action, he'll move up here to McAllister's investigations. And what we can do there is, then for his second action, he's going to use the location. It says take a social test. If you pass, you remove all taint from any location. It's a high test. It's a 5. His social's a 3, so we got to get a pretty decent roll, but since he can't do much it seems like this is a good bet for this turn. Now, without conviction, he can't turn into a superhero form, so really can't do much with this. Remember, he does need to make his way to the docks, and that's one of the reasons I moved him up there, because he's going to start moving across to the docks, and he might as well do something good on the way there. So for his second action, he will roll. Remember, blue's us, red's bad. A 6, God, that's weird. 6 is so 0. Unfortunately, that means he did not succeed. So he did not remove taint from any particular location. That sucks. I could do that again if I want to. There's no penalty for failing this. If I want to spend my whole turn there, remember I got to get. I also have to get Erica over to the museum, which the library is on her way, and that's kind of the other reason. I should probably show you how I'm moving them and why. I got to get them to their reflection so we can start to get closer to getting to the bomb. That's our main mission here. But he's got one more action left. What do I do with him? Well, I can start heading him to the docks. You know, we get to this stop location. I'm going to have to I can't move any further anyway. Or I could try one more time to see if we can remove some taint from the voodoo shop, which has 2 taint. That would be helpful, because then it means that we would have monsters come out far less frequently. At least the initial monsters come out. I'm pretty sure that our bad guy's going to drop a minion in his wake based on his card. So we'll see how that goes. That means we're probably going to have something to fight on the board pretty soon, and he can become a superhero and do that. But I think it might be worth, the dice are rolling really, really weird on me, but it might be worth staying there and doing it again. I know it's a 5. He adds 3 to his roll. If all he has to do is get a little lucky. And we can't really, moving is just going to get us 1 closer to the docks. If I turn into my superhero form, he gets to move 4. He can get all the way there in 1 shot. So I think we're going to stay there and try that again. And this is a social test. We need to get a 5, right? So, are you kidding me, guys? This is something wrong with these dice. Let me see. Okay, nope. All right, well, he failed again. So, we rolled double 6s again. And that means that he did not succeed in removing taint from a space. His turn was as wasteful as I thought it might be. But that's going to be all their actions. So that's going to end the day phase for us. Now we're going to move into the night phase. Okay, so what we have here is our night phase order sheet. Remember, the first thing that happens is enemies act, but we don't have any on the board currently with this setup. Then we're going to raise the taint in the area. Now what does that mean? We're going to put some taint cubes out on some spaces. Now these go on the spaces that are denoted by the starting taint sheet. So the museum will gain a taint. The voodoo shop will gain a taint. And it's a 3 already, and that's why I was trying to get rid of it. And the downtown will gain some taint. And that's what it says to do. It says, yeah, all locations listed on the starting taint section of the scenario card have their taint increased by 1 if the location already has 5 taint. Remove 4 taint cubes and place a shadow there. So we know that we got to keep the taint down to museum, downtown, and the voodoo shop. Okay, now we're going to make a nightmare test. Well, we're not in too bad a shape right now because everybody's only got 1 nightmare, but we got to roll a die. If we roll a 1, then we're going to spawn a baddie. So here's Erica's roll. She rolled a 2, almost. That might have been bad. Get a baddie out this early on. And for Tillman, we rolled a 5. So no problem with enemies this turn. This beginning part, you know, this is where it's ratcheting up for us. We're trying to get some things going, you know, and see what we get. Now, the good news is that Erica's already got a couple of convictions. She can actually get some things done. We got to get some conviction on Tillman, though. Now, we're going to go on as the last part of the night phase is the Nemesis is going to get to act. So let's take a look and see what he does. What does he do during the night phase? It says the supervillain follows the Nemesis movement and action rules. When the supervillain acts, follow the instructions on the combat card. If any bomb cards have been revealed, remove 1 bomb token from that card. That's coming off his explosive nightlife sheet. So let's take a look at the Nemesis. I made a pretty bad error on this part. I think, though, but we're going to play it out and see how it goes. I may have to take it back. So Bryce is normally, so he has 2 things that are going to happen. One, he's going to follow normal enemy movement, so he's going to move toward the closest player. His movement is 3. Unfortunately, that means 1, 2. He's already there. He's there with, he moves to where Erica is. So what's the problem with that? Well, he's got an attack of 3, right? So there's combat 7 rather. So we're going to roll dice off. Now remember, her combat currently is only 1. This is not a good thing for us at all. And how combat works is we're going to roll the same pair of dice we rolled before. There's going to be a plus and a minus on it. and then we're gonna have to be defending. So when defending against an enemy, and I'm only gonna read this once. Take a combat test. The difficulty is the combat score of the attacker. So in this case, 7, right? So we have to get a 7. The only way we can do that is if he rolls. Well, actually, we can't. We're gonna take damage, but it's about how much damage, right? Taking damage whenever a player, Reaver or Nemesis, takes damage, place 1 wound on their character mat for each point of damage taken. So yeah. So how does this happen? How do we take damage? Each additional time, it says the first time you defend against an attacker, you may use your full combat score. Each additional time is -1. So that means if there's more than one enemy in there, it's going to reduce our combat score. It says, for example, Nikki is attacked by Shadow. She's defending a combat test using her combat score of 2. Once the attack is resolved, a second enemy attacks her. When, yeah, okay, we're not worried about that. And tracking damage, whenever a player, Reaver, and yeah, okay, we got that. If the player's test result is lower than the attacker's combat score, they take a number of wounds equal to the attacker's damage. That's 3, right? So here's the problem. She can only take 2. And that's really, really bad. So if an anima is defeated, when a character's real-world self has as many wounds as they do health, they gain a doubt point. We're going to take a doubt point almost immediately. I don't see any way to avoid that in this case. But we're going to have to roll to see if she can manage this. Man, I have got to keep Homie away from my people right now, unless they're in their other form. Because in her other form, she would have at least had a combat of 3 and been able to take more damage. And been able to maybe stop that damage. We could have stopped him with this if I had thought ahead, but I didn't. Here we go. Alright, what is it with the pairs? Okay, anyway, we're going to take damage. We took 3 points of damage. Guess what? That means she is defeated. So, the player becomes untargetable by all enemies' actions until the refresh step of the next phase. So, it doesn't really matter. She gains a doubt point already. And remember, this is one of the ways we lose the game. This was really a bad start for me. It was dumb. And it was just bad tactical. I should have moved her. Well, she can only move 1. And I guess I could have turned her into her superhero form and moved her away. But then he would have gone and attacked Tillman. Because he's got a big movement of 3. Now, he's now farther than 3 away from Tillman, but not farther than 3 away from... I mean, she can't move far enough away without turning into her anima form. Which she may have to do. We're probably going to have to get her the heck out of there. She's got to get 3 away from him. Yeah. So anyway, that is what happens. And then, no, why did that happen? Because she can only take 2 hits. He does 3 damage. That's why that happens. So, boom. She is kaput. And down for the count. What a way to start the game. Bash! Halfway to defeated. That is just awesome. So, death. Once a player has 2 doubt tokens, they are defeated and removed from the game. Erica, you need to heal. It's very hard to get rid of doubt, too. I don't even know how we do that. But we are going to probably power her up next turn and get her the heck out of there. That being said, we're going to leave it in a bit of a cliffhanger right now. This is the way it's going to go for our first turn. We immediately got hit by Bryce. If I die too quickly in this, I'll just start over, guys, because that was just a dumb mistake on my part, because I don't know how to play the game very well yet. And also, with her animus ability of telepathy, or telekinesis, she can actually blow some guy back, blow him back a space or 2 and get the heck out of Dodge, which is what we're going to have to do, I believe. So I think her next turn is going to be spent powering herself up and getting out of there. Yeah, we'll see. Alright guys, well anyway, thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing. I hope you enjoy the playthrough of Shared Dream. Remember, this is a blind playthrough, so if you do catch me making any specific or significant mistakes, let me know. I will correct them where I can, and I'll try and see. I don't think I did, actually. I think we did okay there. I went through I was looking to see if any enemies came out initially, but I didn't. In this scenario, it doesn't look like any enemies start on the board. And now I know why, because Bryce the Damned is a beast. So now if he had moved there and she wasn't there, he would have dropped one of his minions down, which is what we got to get to have happen, because they're the ones that give us bomb codes. So we need to stay away from him. We need to allow him to move to a space where he can drop some minions down, that we can go attack those minions. But with a movement of 3, he can get around the board pretty well. It's kind of frightening. We're gonna have to block him with going in directions that he can't go in. Like back up in here, it'd be hard for him to get to Tillman now, right? Because he'd have to go 1, 2, 3. He can't. If he came through here, went 1, 2, he'd stop. So it would take him a turn or 2 to get up there. But we can get cornered so easy. I got to really make sure we're powered up and ready to take him on. Anyway, guys, that's going to be it. So thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing. I hope you're going to enjoy this. Please like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. And if you enjoy the channel, by all means, pop over to find me on Patreon and become a patron of mine. For just $10, you can support the channel. You can do it for less too, but that'd be awesome. Anyway, thanks, guys. I appreciate it. I'll talk to you in the next episode. Take care.